Hello and welcome to Forward Boldly. I'm your host, Christine Niles. Did you know that the birth control pill causes silent abortions? Not only does it lead to abortions because it doesn't always work, but it's actually acting as an abortifacient. Did you know that? And did you know that the industry does not want you to know that? That means that women who've been on the birth control pill for any amount of time, they're having silent abortions without even knowing it. And not just that, there are all sorts of other harms that are linked to the pill. All that and more in this episode of Forward Boldly. But first, I encourage you to sign up for our autumn retreat at sea. We're going to be stopping in ports in New York City, Rhode Island, Maine, Canada, and more. And the best part about it is you get to be with like-minded Catholics in a meditating setting out on the open sea. Daily mass, daily rosary, confession, adoration, and some powerful talks, of course, by Michael Voris. Just go to churchmilton.com/retreat at sea autumn. And those are hyphens in between each word, retreat at sea autumn. Go there, sign up. You will not regret it. I've been to multiple retreats at sea. I love every single one. And I always come back refreshed, reinvigorated in my faith. It's also some really great family time too, if you want to bring your family along. Fees are extremely reasonable. All right, so the vast majority of women today in America are on some form of hormonal birth control, and that includes Catholics. Approximately 70% of Catholic women are on the pill. In fact, the rates between Catholic and non-Catholic women on the pill they're almost indistinguishable. Here's the problem. There are all sorts of harms caused by the pill that the industry doesn't want you to know about. Now, how does the pill actually work? It's a synthetic steroid hormone. It's a chemical that you're pumping into your body, into your perfectly healthy body, going through perfectly natural cycles of fertility, and you're pumping a steroid hormone into your body to throw a wrench in the gears and to prevent the natural cycles of your body from working. And so what it does, this hormone, is it suppresses estrogen, which prevents ovulation. Ovulation, of course, the mature egg being released from the ovary so that a sperm can unite with the egg and, of course, form an embryo, a baby. And we know, as Catholics, if you're pro-life, you believe life begins at conception, at the moment that you have an embryo. Because at that moment, this is a unique, new human life, a human being with his own unique DNA, separate from his mother, with a soul created, a creature of God. So this is a new human being, a soul from that very moment. In addition to thickening the cervical mucus to make it harder for sperm to get through, of course, sometimes sperm does get through. We'll talk about it in a little bit. It also thins out the uterine lining. Now, the uterine lining normally is supposed to be likened to a lush, dense forest of nutrients. The embryo needs to be able to implant into the uterine lining in order to receive nutrients. This is how the embryo is fed, how the baby grows, implanting in the uterine lining, which, like I said, should be thought of as a lush, dense forest of just nutrients, nutrition coming to the baby. What the pill does is it makes it a barren wasteland. It thins out the uterine lining, makes it very difficult for the embryo to implant. And what the embryo does is eventually it doesn't implant, or it detaches from the uterine lining, receives no nourishment whatsoever. Basically, the baby starves to death, flushed out of your system, into the toilet, many times without you even knowing it. Now, there are all different kinds of hormonal birth control. It's not just the pill. You've got IUDs, copper IUDs included. You've got the Depo-Provera shot. You've got the patch, the ring, and emergency contraception. They all use hormones to work to block these natural functions in your body. Now, the pill does not prevent abortions. It leads to abortions. Why? Because the pill doesn't always work. Occasionally, there is ovulation. Occasionally, there is an egg that is released. And occasionally, that egg ends up being fertilized by the sperm, and then you end up getting pregnant. Did you know that half of all women receiving abortions said they got pregnant on contraception? 51%. So just a little bit more than half. And so this plan, spearheaded by the abortion industry, including Planned Parenthood, of placing contraceptives in high schools, like condom dispensers, and encouraging girls to go on the pill early, all that kind of thing, claiming that it was going to reduce pregnancies and STDs, it's had the exact opposite effect. Exact opposite effect. STDs have skyrocketed ever since we started introducing contraceptives into public schools. Ever since we started pushing the pill and birth control on girls. STDs have skyrocketed. Pregnancies have also gone up. So it's had the opposite effect of what the abortion industry has been telling people. We need to rethink how we're approaching all this. And you know what has worked? What has worked? The message of abstinence has worked. And people scoff at that, okay? People are like, oh no, kids are going to have sex and nobody's ever going to listen to the message of abstinence. That's actually not true. In the places where a strong message of abstinence has been preached and taught to children, to students, and students kind of, the rate of pregnancies has gone down. The rate of STDs has gone down. What we're doing in many cases, we're capitulating to the culture. We're saying, okay, well, we're going to lower ourselves down to your level because we think you guys have no self-control, no self-respect, no dignity, and you can't control yourself. You're just going around sleeping with other people. Therefore, we're going to push, these contraceptives onto you instead of teaching them the message of abstinence. That is definitely worth another episode for another day. But I want to come back to this very important theme of silent abortions. Now, it's difficult to tell exactly how many happen, how often women are ovulating on the pill and then getting pregnant and then having these abortions. But like I said, that's how it works. The abortion pill thins out the uterine lining. The embryo cannot implant himself or herself. And so the embryo starves to death. The baby starves to death and is flushed out of your body into the toilet without your even knowing it. And the scientists who have studied this say those on the pill, this incidence happens approximately once every 2 years. That means if you've been on the pill for just 2 years and you're sexually active, you've probably had at least one silent abortion. If you've been on the pill for 10 years, you've probably had 5 silent abortions. If you've been on the pill for 20 years, you've probably had about 10 silent abortions. I don't know about you. I would not want that on my conscience when I stand before God one day. I do not want that on my conscience, knowing that because I've been taking this abortifacient birth control pill, that's resulted in the silent abortions of numerous of my children. I just wouldn't want that on my conscience. And I'm sure most of you watching this wouldn't want that either. This is something that the industry does not want you to know, precisely because they know most women don't like this idea of becoming pregnant and then their children dying in their womb, and especially without knowing it. Most women wouldn't like to know. This includes, obviously, pro-life women. A lot of them are not aware of this. I remember I was on a plane once, can't remember when, it was a long, long time ago, years ago, and I just struck up a conversation with the woman sitting next to me. We were kind of talking about our children, all that stuff. And then she just kind of casually mentioned, yeah, I really want to have more children, but my husband doesn't want me to have any more. And so, I've been taking the pill, but I really want to get off the pill. I really want to have more children, but my husband's the one who's like, no, let's hold off. And I got into a conversation with her about that. And I said, she mentioned she was Catholic. And I said, do you know the Catholic teaching on birth control? And she said, yeah, but my husband, he wants this, and I'm kind of torn. And I mentioned to her about these silent abortions, the fact that the pill works as an abortifacient. She had no idea. She didn't even know what an abortifacient was. I had to explain to her what it was. And I said, this is how the pill works. And did you know that this is what's happening? She had no idea. And I think she was kind of shocked by that. Now, I don't know what happened after that. I pray that she went home and had a serious conversation with her husband, and I hope that she eventually got off the pill. But the vast majority of women simply don't know that this is happening. I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Real Estate for Life. Are you looking to buy or sell a home? Maybe you want to move to a more family-friendly place? Real Estate for Life can help you with that. I myself have used them twice, once to sell a home, another time to buy a home. In both cases, they paired me with a professional who shared my values, plus he gave a cut of his commission to a pro-life charity of my choice. Real Estate for Life is a multinational company that connects pro-life home seekers with realtors and professionals who share their values. When you buy or sell a home with Real Estate for Life, the agent will give a share of his commission to the charity that you have chosen. So for instance, on a house worth $180,000, approximately $1,000 of that will go to the pro-life charity of your choice. And that's all without costing you a penny. It really is a win-win. So to connect with a pro-life realtor, please go to realestateforlife.org. That's realestateforlife.org. Something else too, it's not just the silent abortions that the pill causes. There are all sorts of other health problems that the pill causes. As you can imagine, you're pumping chemicals into a perfectly healthy body. Of course, it's going to mess with your body in more ways than one. It affects your ability to get pregnant afterwards. So women who've been using the pill for a certain amount of time and they get off of it, they have a much harder time getting pregnant after that than other women who've never been on the pill. A much harder time. And the longer time that you're on the pill, the harder it gets. There have been studies proving this. Because what it does is, like I said, it thins out the uterine lining and it leaves permanent effects on that. In some cases, that lining remains much thinner for the rest of your life, meaning it makes it much more difficult for the embryo to implant. So the longer you're on the pill, the more difficult it becomes in many cases to get pregnant later on. Also, there's a proven link between the pill and breast cancer. Now, for a long time, the industry denied this. The abortion industry especially denied this. The pharmaceutical companies, which make money off of the pill, denied this. Pro-abortion medical industry denied this. But now it is undeniable. There is a proven link between the pill, hormonal birth control, and an increase in cancer, anywhere from 20 to 40% increase in women in breast cancer. And this is especially dangerous for women who already have a history of breast cancer in their past. Women whose mothers or grandmothers have had breast cancer in the past. I mean, you're already dealing with a higher incidence of it, but then you add the pill to that, and you're just increasing it all the more. As well, the National Cancer Institute says that there is an increased risk of cervical cancer, especially for women who've been taking the pill for 5 years or longer. You have an increase in osteoporosis, decreased bone density, meaning more likely to get bone fractures in the future. Benign liver tumors as well. There's an increase in benign liver tumors, which, although the lumps in your liver may be benign, there's the danger of rupture and bleeding. Also, the birth control pill, the hormones used, they're labeled as a group 1 carcinogen. What are some other group 1 carcinogens? Well, tobacco in cigarettes, asbestos, arsenic, HIV infections, and lots more. These are all considered group 1 carcinogens. It's the top, the most dangerous. And the steroid hormones in birth control pills are grouped in there. Other effects, 70% increased risk of depression, according to one study. 70% increased risk of depression by taking the pill. Increase in blood clots, which then leads to an increase in the potential for heart attacks, fatal heart attacks. A 2021 study of nearly 5 million women showed that they were twice as likely to get glaucoma, which is a disease of the eyes, on the pill. Not at some future date, but right now. Now, twice as likely to get glaucoma. And this is very interesting as well. In addition to the health effects, the harmful health effects, and the increase in infertility, sterility later on, you've got the fact that it messes up attraction, mutual attraction between men and women. How does it do that? Because by suppressing estrogen, which is released by your body, and there are pheromones that are released by your body that are picked up in the nasal glands of others, and it indicates that you're fertile. As we know, birth control pill suppresses that fertility. And so these pheromones, which play a part in, attraction between men and women, these pheromones are suppressed or they're eliminated so that you're no longer releasing these things. And therefore, you're no longer indicating to the opposite sex that you're fertile. Now, the way pheromones work, it's complex. It's somewhat mysterious, but it is scientifically proven. They play a part in attraction. They've studied pheromones in animals, how pheromones are used in attraction of animals and mating in animals. And they definitely play a part in mutual attraction between men and women. But the birth control pill messes with all that so that men who might normally be attracted to a woman not on the pill, just normally releasing her pheromones, indicating she's fertile, they stop being attracted when she's on the pill because those pheromones are no longer being released. This was actually proven in experiments with monkeys. It's actually really fascinating. In 1972, there was an experiment on macaque monkeys conducted by Dr. Lionel Tiger. And this was involving the Depo-Provera shot. They wanted to see how it affected these groups of monkeys. So you had the alpha male monkey who had chosen his 3 favorite female companions. Okay, and so he regularly mated with these 3 female companions. And Austin, the name of the alpha male monkey, he stopped mating with those 3 female companions after each of them was given the Depo-Provera shot. He actually went and sought out other monkeys who were not injected with a shot. Now, he didn't know. It's not like someone walked up to him and said, "Oh, Austin, we're going to give them these shots." He had no idea. They were just given these shots, and he was able to pick up through the, through his nasal glands, recognizing somehow primally that they were no longer fertile. He chose other monkeys, and so he was no longer sexually attracted to them. He wanted nothing to do with them. And what's interesting is they then inject the other group of females with Depo-Provera, and he loses interest in them. And he actually starts exhibiting homosexual behavior. He starts going to the male monkeys, and he gets very confused and very aggressive. Austin's behavior became very confused and very aggressive, even though he wasn't injected with anything. And so and other experiments were done as well later on. In 2019, in the book, This Is Your Brain on Birth Control, evolutionary psychologist Dr. Sarah Hill says that studies done on female monkeys, various other types of female monkeys, shows that they were less likely to be approached for mating, for sex, by the male monkeys. So this is proven over and over and over again. They've also done human trials with this to see how birth control affects attraction. And it was shown that women on birth control were not as attractive to their partners as when they were not on birth control. So it affects human relationships. And something else that is very interesting as well is it is also shown that the women who are on hormonal birth control, they're no longer very attracted to the really masculine, strong men. I hope you're enjoying the show. The rest of the show is behind the paywall, so please go to churchmilitant.com to watch the rest. For those who are not premium subscribers, you can sign up at churchmilitant.com/go premium. See you there.